Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the May 28th, 2024 Historic District Board of Review. Nicole, can we have roll call, please?
Mike Pittman.
Here.
Happy Smith.
Here.
Carolyn Rogers.
Here.
Jed Skillman.
Here.
Bill, do you want to be Bill or William? Bill Jewell. Here. Sandy Palmer.
Here.
Ken McWilliams.
Here.
Thank you, Nicole. Has everyone reviewed the minutes from the last meeting? Any additions, corrections?
I move we approve as written.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second. Roll call vote. Nicole?
Ken McWilliams.
Approve.
Happy Smith.
Approve.
Mike Pittman.
Approve?
Carolyn Rogers.
Approve.
Sandy Palmer.
Abstain, I wasn't here.
Jed Skillman.
Approved.
Bill Jewell.
Thank you. Well, welcome, everybody. It's a beautiful night. A little windy. You got it. What we're going to do tonight is we're going to go over your applications. The audience will give comments. The board will ask some questions. What we'll ask you to do is come to the podium, state your name and address, and if I forget to ask you to do that, please do that, because Nicole will remind me I forgot. Yes, you will. Okay. But then, once you give your name and address, Nicole will go over your application, and then we'll ask for additional comments from you, and then the board will ask any questions or make comments about your applications, and then we'll ask for public comment. Does that sound pretty simple? Good. Okay, our first application tonight is from Brian Marshall, 108 West Fifth Street.
Brian Marshall, 201 Plum Street.
Thank you, Brian. Nicole?
This application is a certificate of appropriateness to build a 40-foot by 47-foot pole barn, zone central business district. This is non-contributing lot as it is currently vacant. Couple of photos of the existing lot. It is between the yellow house and the black, it looks black on here, house. This is a site plan showing how the property will sit. Keeping in mind that the two properties facing West Street are not shown on this. Couple of new renderings for you. Actually, this is one that the applicant submitted with different siding. The applicant also provided a 2-scale drawing showing how the building will sit between the two neighboring properties. A second rendering with different siding below the ridge line. Same 2-scale drawing, just with that different material. And the applicant also provided several surrounding buildings to show existing materials within view of the property. And that's all I have for you.
Thank you, Nicole. Brian, do you have anything to add?
Nope.
Any questions or comments from the board?
Yes, we saw your view last week, and mainly it was that it looked like a pole barn, and it didn't seem appropriate for the housings that are being rehabbed at the moment down there, and they're making some great progress along with the house that you're rehabbing right next to it. We appreciate very much you doing this, but this is much more attractive for the neighborhood, and I was driving back past there today, and there are a couple of places that really need to be spiffed up, but I rather like it. I know it's a utility building, and you need that kind of building downtown to work out of, and I don't find it undesirable at all.
Thank you, Carol Ann. Anybody else?
In your new drawings, it looks like there's different materials on the side of the building. What are those materials going to be?
Metal.
Now, Nicole showed us another one that had something, that one there, metal also?
Yeah, that's the gable end, what you see from the street, but the rest of the sides and the back would be metal.
I just have a question for you. I know you have other properties in town. Is there not a possibility to locate visible, less central part of town?
Not, it's an open lot, no. I mean, it is central business there. There's a lot of just commercial looking buildings. And this lot right here is in the flood fringe, so we really have to build it up anyway. There's not a lot you can do right there.
Okay, thank you.
Are the two houses you're rehabbing in the floodplain also?
Just the edge of the brick, the one to the very north, right there on the creek side is.
Brian, what are the materials you're doing on the sides and the rear?
So that'll be the stone in the front on the lower part, and then LP siding, and then the shake siding up top. Or I could do board and batten after the rock, just like the building next door is gonna be.
But I thought you mentioned metal on the sides.
Yeah, it's still a pole barn. This
Metal
is
what?
Metal pole barn siding?
That like corrugated
Yeah.
or whatever?
I'm now a little confused too. So are you putting wood on top of the metal, or is it just the metal?
It's just the metal on the sides and the back.
On the sides, okay, but the front is gonna have something different on it?
Yeah, that'd be wood, stone, then wood siding.
Brian, are you open to LP siding, front, sides, and rear?
I'm open to it.
I just can't visualize metal, pole barn metal in the historic district.
I can visualize it.
Yes,
I
okay,
just-
I can too, yeah, sorry, I'll rephrase.
Do you have a view of the side of the building?
There's really not much you're gonna see from the sides.
Okay. Will there be windows on the sides?
No, I hadn't planned.
Nor in the back, okay.
I'd like to thank you very much for this visualization. A lot of people don't give us something that's so concrete, that's to scale, kind of shows the heights really nicely. So I just want to thank you very much for the completeness of your drawings.
Ryan Rogers did those for me. He's really good at that stuff. He's right here in town too.
Brian, what's your preference, board and batten or the other?
I really like the way the board and batten looks. I just didn't have a chance to turn that in. I think they all look pretty good.
Didn't you say that original house that you're redoing right now is board and batten?
Yeah, the blue one,
Yeah.
that's, yeah.
Okay.
It's not gonna be blue, it's gonna be tan.
So that's the board and batten on this house?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Thank you, Nicole.
How much expense does it add to do this on the front?
A lot. Quite a bit. You just, you have to put your OSB and just, basically side it like a regular house. But, I think it makes a big difference. It looks good. And it'll match the house next door too.
Is there any way, my preference would be, do the side, forget about the back, that's on the creek. Do the sides in this, but it could add a lot of money. But how about going down on the sides 10 feet, because it's 30-foot building, and you kind of step it down and go, so that you continue the stone and shingle look around the side 10 feet, or I'm just pulling that out of the air, and then gradually bring it down, and then the last half of the thing, the back and the last half of each side is just pole barnism.
Yeah, I could do that. I could, yes.
I would say if you could do that, I could support this.
All right.
Your board and batten siding you're talking about, are you talking about a 12-inch on center kind of a board and batten?
I think it's 12 or,
12 on center?
it may be 16, but I think it's 12.
Okay. What material would that be made out of? Would it wood, or is this a metal product, or?
No, it's wood. It's
Gonna
just
be
like the
wood.
LP siding.
Okay.
Anything else from the board?
So are we,
Are we going through the guidelines?
eventually, but are we amenable to either board and batten or LP? I mean, is that what's gonna be in the motion, that, or are we gonna
think it's
choose one?
It's up to Brian. I mean, Brian, what,
That would be best for me if I could do either or. They both look really good.
Okay.
But I would do stone regardless on the bottom.
Okay.
Does anybody have a preference, yay or nay, about wrapping the facade material around the side? Or is that I'm the only one on that?
Yeah, Bill, I'd prefer the tire, I'll give you the rear toward the creek, but I want the sides and the front same material. My preference.
any other comments? Any comments from the audience? Judy, come on up. Please state your name and address.
You know the drill.
Judy Kaler, 414 Broadway. Can I just ask a couple of questions, Brian? Is there any option on the pitch of the roof?
I think that's a 412. I could go 46.
Buildings look so much nicer, with a steeper pitched roof, you know? And then what about putting the overhead door on the back side so it doesn't look like some modern structure just stuck in the middle of our historic district? It looks like, right now, like something that you'd find out in a subdivision in the country. It's not something that really looks consistent with the historic district. You got. Okay. Well, I'll give you my comments. I first just want to recap what's been happening over the past few years in this neighborhood, near and surrounding this property we're talking about tonight. The neighborhood of Fifth Broadway West and Mulberry has been making an amazing turnaround from a very derelict area to an area the city can be proud of. Change like this doesn't happen without a lot of people putting in a lot of effort and a lot of financial commitment. So I just want to recap the structures that have been done near here. The Gold's House on Mulberry Street, it was a shack, and now it's the star of Mulberry Street. The King's Daughters houses on Mulberry that were on the verge of being torn down. They were all boarded up and ugly, and now they're restored and secure for the future, with the exception of one that was torn down. Behind 613 Mulberry, there's the little yellow carriage house that adds a lot of nice look to the neighborhood. It's architecturally attractive, contributes nice to the neighborhood. Over in the city parking lot, the rhomboid brick that has been restored was on the verge of collapse. It's now nicely preserved and serving as a single-family home. West of that house, Dave Patterson has recently saved a derelict shotgun house, turning it into a very sweet little cottage. The Knox home at the corner of Fifth and West is nicely restored. Further down West Street, the King's Daughters office buildings are either restored or in the process of being restored. On to West Fifth, the block where this is proposed. We have the white frame O'Banion house that has been sitting on steel girders for quite some time, but is now going to be restored and added on to by Dave Patterson, and I've seen those plans. They're absolutely beautiful. And that's like 2 doors from this. So I want to thank Dave again for another property that he has restored. Then further west, you have Roger Welch's shop, which is undergoing a transformation currently. Again, very complimentary to the neighborhood with historical features. So all of this work in this area of town has been nothing short of miraculous. And thanks to all who have participated and invested in this effort. So it kind of behooves us all to keep this ball rolling and to ensure that what happens going forward continues to complement this wonderful neighborhood that's really seen a huge turnaround. We have had a couple structures in Madison that have gone up in the last couple of years that just don't seem to fit in, and I don't want to see that happening in this neighborhood. So, with the application tonight, we have an opportunity here to ensure that a proposed structure in all this historic area is complementary to the neighborhood and architecturally pleasing. We owe it to all those folks who have worked hard to turn this neighborhood around. I feel this current proposed design falls a bit short of what we should expect for this area. With some redesign work, maybe changing it from a pole barn to something more sound, a nicer exterior. I was hoping that, the door could be put on the back because historic structures don't typically have a double overhead door facing the street, and this is very visible to Fifth Street. So I'm hoping that we can all kind of come together and work for a solution to this so we don't have regrets down the road. There's still things going on in this neighborhood that I would hope what we do tonight will enhance those properties in the future. So my suggestion is that we ask Mr. Marshall to table this, and let's kind of do some thinking and come up with something that just fits in better and is more architecturally appealing. Thank you.
Thank you, Judy. Anyone else? Yes, sir.
Charles Henry, 419 East Second Street. The longer I look at that picture, I visualize, I don't know, maybe reconfiguring the front, but, and I guess it's a pull-up door, front door? Or sliding doors feasible to give it a carriage house type look? Maybe make the whole front look like a carriage house. Yeah, I could buy a door that looks like that, yeah. Because we've got Madison so full of carriage houses and stone barn down on Walnut Street. There's something can be done to give it that look to me, of a carriage house. Maybe reconfigure the windows, a different door, I don't know, but the big door, I think something can be done to that to give it a carriage house look that would fit into the scheme of things. That's all I've got.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else? What do you think, Brad?
I think it's gonna match what I'm doing next door. I don't know, what do you think?
Are you thinking it would be feasible you could make it look like a carriage house door, or you can get that kind of door that,
Yeah, I
He's
can,
talking about-
I just don't know that it's gonna match, everything else I've got going on there.
Mhm.
Yeah, you could buy doors like that.
Brian, you've heard this before. We really appreciate what you're doing right next door, but this is still a pole barn. And it's really just not appropriate for the historic district. I would expect to see this north of Clifty Drive on any of those industrial streets, just not downtown.
And I think it's important to say that, although we'll probably get to that again, but you've tabled and you've done a lot of work to re-show a front, but again, it's the front of a metal-sided pole barn or partial wood to the thing, and it's still a pole barn, which I guess is the issue that I have with it. in the downtown area. I don't have nothing personally against pole barns, just in the historic district. And even though that's a commercial district now, if you're looking, like I said, there's, at one point, obviously, the houses that you're redoing and the ones next door, they were residential homes. It was a residential area at some point in history.
I don't think the houses that I'm reviewing ever were.
Residences?
Well, I can definitely appreciate all the money. I mean, just saying, move the garage door to the back, it's not just moving the garage door, that's more asphalt, and there's other things involved in it that adds to the expense of it. But, as Dr. Kaler said, this is in a downtown area, and everything around it has come up. I mean, just the last couple of years, you can see it. And this needs to be finessed way more than what we see here.
So do you want it to look older?
Probably want it to look like it belongs there with everything else. Here, the deal is on any house is figuring that room right next to the door is going to be your office, let's say. And when you look out the window, you're going to look, well, you'll see the police department, but at an angle, you'll see a row of restored old houses. And if you look over at this direction, you'll see a few more old houses. Of course, you see the hospital in there, but there you have a view like that. And if you flip that around and say, well, how about the guy that bought the house across the street? When he looks out his window, he sees a pole barn. And that's not why he moved to Madison. So you have to throw that into the calculation. Maybe this isn't the place to put this, like somebody said, she goes up on Clifty. And I'm not saying this to make you jump through hoops or anything like that. It just doesn't seem, the more I look at it, and I thank Dr. Kaler for her remarks, because she said what I was thinking in the back of my head. And that's kind of the case. In its current form, even if you do go around the side 1/3 of the way, the door on the front, that's a problem. And it's one thing or another. This is a functional commercial building, but you're in basically an up and coming residential area that was 10 years ago was kind of just a bunch of junky old houses. So somebody's investing money there, but when they look out the window and they see a pole barn, that's part of the equity of their house is the what you see, the views out the window.
Yeah, but the view out of my window would be nothing but commercial. You got the police station
Mhm.
over it, you got the garage, you got the old folks home. You got, I don't understand that. It's not that whole block is, I've got 2 dilapidated houses right beside me.
You are absolutely right. You're in the middle of an area that has a lot of commercial buildings. And the toughest thing for this board, is to enforce guidelines where other people somewhere else in town are not, abiding by the guidelines. This constant issue of fairness or unfairness. The constant feeling I have is I can't really control what happened in the past. Going forward, I just have to do the very, very best job I can of keeping this town what everybody liked about it when they moved here, and trying to prevent things that are just gonna make people sorry. I got a girlfriend with a pole barn right in her backyard, and she's just miserable about it. It's not your pole barn, it's a different pole barn. She's just miserable about it. She didn't move here to be located next to a pretty darn big pole barn. So I know it's not fair, and I am sorry for that.
Yeah, I understand that, but, just looking at the block that I'm in, and then like last time I was here, the guy wanted to put vinyl siding on his house because there was 4 or 5 other houses with vinyl siding on his street, and he was approved. So, I mean, this is my block, this is where I'm at.
looks like you're at the maximum, sides and back.
Yes.
You know, it appears that, here in part of the conformance, that the plan, the project's in conformance because it is in a, commercial zone. And there are other garages downtown. There's other carriage houses, there's other utility buildings. And, I mean, there's one on Second Street I can think of that's been there for probably 75 years. It's more of an eyesore than anything, but it sits right among all the residential homes there. But it's been there forever, so it will be there until it falls down, I suppose. But I don't see the big problem if maybe you did change the door to make it look more like a carriage house door than a utility door. But there are lots of places in town, and there's a need for it. I think you do most of your work downtown because you rehab houses constantly. And I kind of see that it could work. Now, if the rest of the board thinks you need to run something back either side rather than have the pole barn siding, then we'll just have to wait and see what it comes out, how it's worded.
I asked how deep your lot is.
So the pole barn would be 48 foot deep, and so it's got another 3 foot, so 51 foot.
And what she was saying, if that was turned around, then you'd have, I don't know if you can, oh, you only have 3 feet on the other end, sorry, can't do that. Guess you already figured that out.
Yeah, it's, the Gibson sisters. I thought I was gonna get that lot, but there's, some liens on it that they're not gonna take care of, and I'm not either, so kind of went away.
So are we at a point to do guidelines and make a recommendation or not, or are we?
I don't know if we got all the comments yet. Anybody else get any further comments?
I wonder what it would look like with a false front. You know, false front, you know, squared off, look more like an ancient commercial building.
You talking about without a peaked roof?
Right, yeah. Well, it would hide the peak roof.
I don't think I'm grasping. You mean like, make the gable ends on the side?
Well, this is
Yeah.
one that you're kind of talking about where it's square on the front and then it hides the
Right.
gable behind there.
Exactly.
Oh, I got you.
False front
Yeah.
building, yeah.
It's not really the look I would be going for, but it could be done. It'd just be another block building down there.
I look at that as a chance maybe to, for false front, to also use your reverse board or your board and batten siding with the same look all the way up. I look at the area down there as a very mixed area, you know, between the police and the attorneys and that kind of thing. So I don't think you're out of where you should be, but it just doesn't look historic the way it is to me.
Yeah, and I really wasn't trying to make it look historic. I mean, I could, but I could do what you, that would,
Just-
it would definitely blend in more with the block.
Brian, it does not have to look historic. There's other garages, carriage houses on Presbyterian Fourth, that come to mind, that just, look more compatible with what we're asking for. But, everyone knows it's gonna be a brand new building, so.
Well, what's the board's opinion of the false front? That's a good idea, Bill.
I don't think it's a bad idea. But I would ask that we get, asking to, wait another month and bring drawings that we could work with, updated schematics.
Would that be acceptable, Brian?
But we're still talking about a false front on top of a metal pole barn.
Yes, hiding the pole barn as much as he can. Yes.
I guess my concern is that we keep making him wait 30 days and bringing back more drawings. And maybe that will have a different outcome,
I don't know.
but
Well, what, if
For me,
we,
it would have to
30
be a pretty
days, and
good-
it's gonna be there for 30 years, so it's just a little infinitesimal, wait.
right, but I don't wanna waste his time if, I guess for me, cause I'm still having problems with it being a pole barn downtown with metal sides, so you'd have to have a really neat
Yeah, no
Facade.
signs.
to change my mind, not that I'm the only, I mean, I'm only one of 7.
You are the one. Yeah, but I would also say no metal sides.
I'm with Sandy too. I do feel badly about asking you to keep doing the designs. I have a real problem with the size of it. That, and you can't, disguise around that.
So that's what I mean, and I don't wanna waste your time. I don't mind the 30, I mean, for us, it is not a very long amount of time, but if you're trying to get something done, it is for you, and
Judy, step up to the microphone. Please, thank you.
I don't understand the false front idea. I can't picture it. How would that work? Like the end of this,
Yes.
And isn't that little white house that's a couple doors down from it, would you consider that a false front when you go back to the pictures that he sees from, that one with the
That's a false front, too.
The lower right.
Bottom right.
bottom right?
what about just turning the whole building the other way so the ridge goes parallel with the street instead of perpendicular with the street?
He only has 3 feet, of setback on each side of the building, so if you turn it, and that's probably gonna be his problem. If we puts the garage in the back, how does he get to it?
Well, I mean, you could still do the door on the front somehow. I mean, how would you do it with the false front? Where would you put the door? So if you spun the building around, you could still have the door on the front, but it would, I don't know, might look a little more pleasing that way.
Civilized.
Yeah. I don't know, just an idea.
Thank you, Judy.
I was just trying to make it look more homey, I guess, but that's not what you were looking for, so. I think I have a better idea of maybe what you're looking for.
I guess my other question, Brian, is do you have to have a double wide garage door? Because that's a big hunk of your frontage.
No, I don't have to.
Just to, I mean, that kind of jumps, I think that jumps out at the board too. But again, it is a commercial building. So, I mean, you've gotta set it up for what you want it for, but, I think that is a big, that you look at the facade, that's the major feature on the facade.
Brian, my single door is 10 feet by 8. And you mentioned last month you were only looking for 7 feet height. I think you're gonna want that extra foot. Because right now you can only get sedans through there.
Yeah.
But 10 foot wide, you'll be able to get commercial trucks through, small ones.
So are we at a point where, Brian, are you willing to work with us for another month?
I'm willing.
entertain a motion.
I move that we table this application for a month.
Second.
Can we have a roll call vote? Nicole?
Sandy Palmer,
Approve?
Jed Skillman,
Yes.
Bill Jewell,
Yes.
Ken McWilliams,
Approve?
Happy Smith,
Approve.
Carol Ann Rogers,
Approve.
Mike Pittman.
Approve. And I want to thank you, Brian, for being willing to work with us, and I want to thank the audience for their input and their commitment to doing the best we can. I mean, this isn't an easy decision for either of us, and I think it's, as Brian's done a lot of good rehabilitation in this town, and I think, I appreciate the enthusiasm for the downtown district. Thank you all.
Thank you.
So Brian, that meeting will be June 24th at 5:30.
Can I ask one more question, please?
Sure.
Is there someone in the community who would be willing to maybe work with Brian on an architectural design that might look a little more pleasing? Do we have someone in the community that would find that an interesting thing to do?
I'm gonna refer that to Nicole.
Just, I would say, judging by your house on Mulberry that my wife and I looked at, you're a great one for that.
I don't think so. I was thinking maybe more like the guy who did the Fairfield Inn, or somebody that's
Oh,
a
Ron Bateman.
professional. Yeah, might have some ideas that would make it look a little more charming.
Thank you, Judy.
Thank you all.
Thank you, Brian. Okay, our next application is from Mary Jo Harding, 1112 West Main. Would you give your name and address, please?
Yes, Mary Jo Hardy. I live at 1112 West Main Street.
Okay, Nicole, would you go over the application?
This application that the board is reviewing is to demolish the old front porch and build a new front covered porch. The LP Smart siding, was reviewed and approved by staff. We just combined them so she didn't have to pay 2 application fees. And this is a contributing circa 1900 shotgun, zoned medium density residential. This is probably the best picture of her house, showing the existing door overhang. And then she would like to add a 16-foot wide front gable porch. Basically, let's lay over the top of that concrete pad. And I do have a site plan. I know it's kind of small, but she does meet all of her required setbacks.
Do you have anything to add?
Anything to add?
Yes.
The concrete there is cracking,
Hmm.
and it needs to be removed. So I was thinking about a wooden porch floor to go with that.
Would that be raised or?
No, we would actually remove the, concrete pad, and hopefully there'd be enough ground clearance there to go back with the wooden porch. That's what she was wanting. If not, we would just have to go back with the a new concrete pad. Get rid of the overhang above the door, just come out straight with the house, with the porch. I think it's, if I remember correctly, 10 foot. And then the LP Smart siding all the way around the house.
So you're saying the roof of the porch would be the same height and
Yes,
angle
it'd
and
be
everything
same-
as the
same
roof
thing
of the
as
house?
As long as you just have a covered porch that would come straight out. And then, like I said, I just drew this up. I mean, don't know what y'all can pose to or whatever, but I was gonna do some webbing in the front, maybe. I just looked at some porches that's going on Main Street, right down the house from her and stuff, and tried to get that idea from them, 'cause
What I was just thinking, that I saw porches across the street and near there that, but I can't remember what this, the roof was straight across, but you still had the little air vent in the front there,
yes, ma'am.
whatever that is, that still showed, but on yours, it'll still be there, but the roof would not be below it. You're saying it would be just
It
extended.
comes straight out with the roof line that's in the picture there.
Just extend the roof. Sir, could we get your name and address?
Yes, my name is Casey Jones. I live at 3394 South Hardy Mill Road in Lexington, Indiana.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Any questions from the board?
Yeah, I have, this is maybe not, this is a different style house, but the porch kind of looks sort of like this. It
Yes,
has
ma'am.
this big beamy thing, kind of beamy thing.
Yeah.
You know, you did mention there was similar porches down the street. We drive a lot around Madison, and we're not seeing too much that looks like this, because it's, I would call it a very craftsman look. Kind of, our houses, a lot of them are kind of older, and a lot of houses, have the shed style. So you're doing a gable style,
That's what we
coming
wanna
out,
do. Yeah.
right? So here, here's like a shed style would be, you'd keep your little peak, but then you'd have the roof of the porch come out. And this one's sort of got, I don't know what you'd call it, maybe, federal style. This one is kind of Victorian-y, maybe it's too much detail, but that kind of idea. If your house is a 1900 house, if it was built in 1900, you know, Victorian might be kind of a good way to go. And here's one that has the Victorian styling, but is the gable roof.
Yes, ma'am.
So that's that gable roof, maybe that's what you like, but sort of Victorian styling. These might be more like what you'd see more of around town. Your craftsman look, I think, is maybe a little bit of a different period.
I like the last one you just showed. That wouldn't be too much from what we'd be trying to do. So basically, you just wouldn't do the webbing, you just do the trim at the top. Yeah. And what I meant by whenever I said the porch is like, there's one right down the road from our house. They're not finished with it yet, but of course it's a gable style, so that's what made me think we could go with the gable style.
The gables seems to be less common in Madison. I tried to find, I was looking for comparables, looking for, you know, good examples. Couldn't find much in the way of gables, so that's a little bit more unusual. I think we do a lot more with the sheds, and this is a Madison house.
Yes, ma'am.
But the point is, I guess both of them don't have, those were like beams or something that you've got in the triangle part of the
Yeah,
house,
yeah.
which
It
is
just
making it more of a
basically be post. They would be
later
stained or.
style of craftsman's or something.
Yeah.
Mid, yeah.
Would you be willing to change it to that style?
Absolutely. The Victorian might be, that'd be fine or whatever, but the picture she just showed us last.
Feel free to take.
Yeah. No,
Take them all, take them all. Pinterest, I guess you can tell I have a little bit of a Pinterest issue.
This one
have a great
right
printer.
here, I think we could probably do, I know we could do this one. I don't know what Miss Mary's budget is on her porch or whatever, we've only discussed one option. Of course, this is a lot more detailed work, you know, for the flat, on a shed roof. This would not probably change our plans at all, because I could just eliminate the post, still bring it out, and whatever little Victorian trim you got up here, whatever, I'd have to locate some of that or find it, which I'm sure it ain't hard to do. She's got the vent there for the vent you got there, and like I said, it's still gable style, and we can just bring it straight out from the house like we were planning on doing.
I think I'm just gonna put a slightly different spin on what Happy said, is right now, as it's drawn out now, it looks like the truck backed up from Lowe's and dropped off a bunch of 6x6, and, well, you can do better than that. And there's all the old houses here have a little bit of flair to them, a little, you know. So you say those posts are 8 feet?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Okay.
Actually, they'd probably be,
I'm sure you can order turned wood 8 feet that's got some, you know, curves and looks like it's got some purpose besides just holding the roof up. You know, that's the basics, you gotta hold the roof up. But the second step is add a little bit to the neighborhood, you know, because, right where your house is, there's a ton of cars come into town, and, you know, when they come into Madison from the west, you know.
Main Street makes so much noise.
so you just mean this adds some more decorative look to it?
Yeah, add
That's-
some finesse to it, because those square 6-inch posts, you know, if you were building it and if you were on the hill,
Or in the country.
putting it, or in the country, that's fine. But people, not only you want to look at something that's got a little jazz to it, the neighbors do, and the people driving by do. It adds a little something to the community when you take a little extra kick, put a little pepper sauce in there and do something like that. But other than that, I can see the reason you want to put a new porch on, because you can't use the front porch now. In this time of year, it's hot out there.
Yes.
So, makes perfect sense you want to do that, but
Plus, it
while
helps
you're,
block some of that noise.
oh, yeah, well, that's a shrubbery issue, probably.
And that's a spider thing too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you just mean just, like some colonial posts, some decorative posts, instead of 6x6s, no
Yeah,
webbing?
whatever your height is, and as I remember, it's 8 feet,
Yeah.
you can get posts that are
Absolutely.
wood turned, and they have some curvature, and they're square at the bottom, maybe square a little at the top, but they got a little pizzazz,
Yeah.
and then you paint them, stain them, or, put a primer coat on and then paint them and then put them up. Yeah,
Thank
I'm
you.
done with my comment.
Any other comments from the board? Any
I
comments?
like the gable. I really like the gable style.
Yep.
In spite of the fact it may not be what everybody else has, it's variety, and I really think that this would be a really nice addition to your house. When I drove past the front, I thought this will dress it up a lot.
Absolutely. I agree, Bill.
Do we want
I
to
agree
see
with
if
what
he'll
they're
come back
saying. I
next
just wanted
month
to
with an updated look on the thing, or what?
I think we can make a vote tonight.
Okay.
I don't think it's that complicated.
One point I
Yes, ma'am.
wanted
I
to
like
make
that too.
is that I agree with both what Bill and Jed had said, but not to mislead you, that we're not asking you to do, fancy gingerbread, all of that look. I mean, because you're not having to make it, you're not trying to make it, any more historic than it already is, but just trying to make it blend in with it.
Yeah, like I said, I've been doing a lot of work around here for a long time. I mean, my business is only 2 years old. I haven't done much downtown yet, besides little jobs, so this would be the first one, but, at the end of the day, I get what y'all are saying. I like the way this is looking, and like I said, I'm just trying to listen and get all the details in, that way, I'm playing better for next time, because right now, my little porch here just is not, you know what I mean? I like this a lot better, so.
And so you're doing the work then,
Yes,
right?
sir.
Okay, so you're going to basically put your name on it.
Yeah,
Okay.
Well, we appreciate the effort.
Yep.
yeah.
Thank you, sir. Any other comments? Any comments from the audience? No, hearing none?
Before we move to findings of fact,
Yes.
just want to make clear, Mary Jo, you want to use that first picture that you guys have there
Yeah,
with the
I like
turned,
that. Yes.
turned post and then the sided gable.
Yep.
Yes, yeah.
So that would be what the board is doing the findings of fact on, and
Turn
then that will,
post and sided gable.
and that would be in the motion.
The gable won't be open like this, it would be sided with the same siding as the house, correct?
That works for me.
Yeah. I think that's what it was.
Yeah,
Do we know what roofing is?
I even like the green.
No, but the roof's.
Good, good, I've been hassling with myself about colors.
Are you gonna ask about the roof?
No, go ahead.
And the roof will be the same material that's on the roof now?
Yes, which is, red sheet metal right now. It's not standing seam, but it's gonna be the same material that's on their house.
It'll be same color.
Okay.
All right. Now, can we do findings of fact? Let's let Ken do findings of fact.
No,
He's got it already dialed up.
I have. So we're going to talk about the guidelines that we work with, and so they're talked about new construction on page 103 to 108 of our guideline book. And 26.1 is where possible, locate new additions at the rear. But this is clearly a front porch, and so we're aware of that. The overall proportions of the new addition should be compatible with the existing building in height, scale, size, and you've done very well with that plan. 26.3, the design elements should be compatible with the existing building, and you're doing very well with that. Same roof, same details, yes. And 26.4, additions should be constructed so that they can be removed from the original building in the future without irreversible damage to significant features. So if someone buys your house in the future, they can take this off with no damage. And 26.7 roof lines should be similar in pitch, form, and height, and they're going to match it exactly. So this project matches the guidelines.
Carol Ann, do you agree?
I agree.
Sandy?
Agree for the same reasons.
Happy?
I agree for the same reasons.
Bill?
I agree.
Jed?
I agree.
And I also agree. Do we have a motion?
Okay.
Based on the preceding findings of fact, I move that the Madison Historic District Board of Review grant a certificate of appropriateness to Mary Jo Harding for the addition of a front porch with turn post and sided gable roof at 1112 West Main Street.
Do we have a second?
I second.
Happy seconds? Do we get a roll call vote? Nicole?
Sandy Palmer,
Approved?
Happy Smith,
Approved.
Carol Ann Rogers,
Approved.
Jed Skillman,
Approved.
Ken McWilliams,
Approved.
Mike Pittman,
Approve.
Bill Jewell.
Approve.
Thank you both. You'll be getting a certificate of appropriateness in mail. But if you need any other permits, I'm not sure if they do, but yeah, you'll need a building permit, so.
We'll go down and see her tomorrow.
Sounds good, buddy. Thank you very much. Thanks for being flexible too. We appreciate it.
Keep them all, keep them all.
Yeah, you might need them for your next project.
Thank you.
Thank you, Happy.
Okay, our next application is from Charles Henry, 419 East Second Street.
I'm Charles, and this is my wife Nanette.
Okay. And Nicole, could we hear about their project?
Yes. This certificate of appropriateness request is to replace 8 wood windows and storm windows with aluminum clad wood windows. This property is zoned Historic District Residential. It is a circa 1840 contributing Greek Revival / Federal style. Got several photos for you. Some of them I took, some of them the applicant took, just showing the visibility of the different windows from the streets. And then several photos showing the current condition of these windows. And I'm happy to flip back through if I went too fast.
Okay, do you have any comments?
Well, I'm getting up in years, but my child drives. And the house just needs, the windows need a lot of maintenance, and the only ones we're asking to replace, 6 are on the side of the house, on the east side. They're not actually visible from the street. The upper two, the tree hides them. And the main focal point, the outer frames are held together by screws. There is rot, deterioration in the windowsill. The noise factor on East Second Street, it's just as bad as Main Street. These windows rattle when anybody with a bass goes by, or the motorcycles, and because the occasion that somebody does stop at the intersection of East Street and East Second,
By
very
mistake.
few occasions, the motorcycles have to gun their engines, and like I say, everything just vibrates, and the noise, after 20 years of living there, I'm trying to update, make it more secure. And we do have 4 original windows downstairs that we're not gonna replace. They're 3 of them are tall windows, which shouldn't be replaced. But these, for our comfort and our convenience, I would like to see replaced. And the company is Madison Glass, and I think they have a new name up on the hill. And they've done a lot of work downtown. I noticed on Jefferson Street, they did some of that work on East First Street. They did a house over there. And I like the looks of them. I'm just trying to preserve that old house too.
Now, let me clarify. You're not talking about replacing the front windows at all? You're
Not
gonna keep
downstairs. The 2 upstairs,
Two
they're not
upstairs.
really viewable from the street or the sidewalk. Like I said, they're hidden from the from the tree and then the old porch there.
Okay,
And that's where we sleep, and if I could cut out that street noise, I might get a good night's sleep.
there you go.
I would like just to add staff perspective. These are the photos I took, and while yes, they're covered by a tree, and there aren't leaves, they are visible from a street.
Okay,
All the windows that he's asking for are visible,
from the street.
yes.
But the two lower front
I
windows are not gonna be
disagree with that.
replaced.
I don't think our bathroom window in the back is visible from the street at all.
If that tree didn't have,
No, I'm not talking about the front, I'm talking about the side.
yeah, I'm on
Side and the back.
that side,
You
yeah.
haven't shown the bathroom window, I don't think.
I didn't think I had that one on here, cause I only have 8.
Yeah, it's tough
And
to,
actually,
it's tough.
well, that's not even our house. I don't have trash cans like that. Okay, that's not my door.
No.
That's not mine.
That would be your, attached neighbors.
Right.
Yeah, it's a duplex.
It was tough to see your house, I can say that.
Right, from the street, so you can't even see, the bathroom window would be
Wrong
through
screen.
here,
Here, you,
and this window up here when this tree's full.
Charles,
could you use the other screen?
use that
Oh,
screen.
I'm sorry. But anyway, this is the window that needs to be replaced, so they're not really, when the trees are full, I mean, of course, in the winter time, maybe if anybody's walking down that street looking up, but they're not on a main street, a main thoroughfare, they're on East Street, nobody really, East Second's the one I'm concerned with.
Sure. Okay, thank you. Any questions or comments from the board, other than me asking questions?
Is that, the one you were pointing to, is that the bathroom window that you said we didn't have a picture of, or?
No, and you can't see it,
Okay,
no, I thought I had other pictures, but
but it's on the east side of the
it's on
house?
the east side, it's a bathroom window, but it's like 1950s or 1960s. It was one, right there, that bottom one.
That.
That
Oh.
bottom one, you can't see that.
Sure.
That was the old push-out window.
Oh, yeah.
They look like awning windows.
Oh, it'll definitely look better than what's.
Oh, anything. That won't be out now. Some of the window frames have storm windows, some don't. They're coming apart, the old frames. The bottom of the upstairs windows were, and I don't know what you call them. I'm not a builder, but the base of the window,
The sill?
the
Sa-
sill
or
was
sash.
covered in above our bedroom, or in our bedroom, was covered with aluminum and nailed in. So these would be completely sealed, and they would look nice, like you've seen around town.
We love the historical aspect of that.
And you just, shims to hold the storm windows in place.
Yeah, and the storm windows that are in the pictures there,
Like I said,
they will be replaced, so.
Okay, when I was looking at that building, it appears because it's a duplex, the building to the west of it, you can just barely see it, the green one. It has 4/4s upstairs. And I would imagine that building was built at the same time. That was all one building when it was built. And those windows above his porch that he wants to replace, I don't believe are original windows because they're not 4/4s. They look like they're 1/1. And of course, the storm window's a whole nother story. We have storm windows in town. But I have no problem with the front windows being replaced at all.
this is aluminum nailed on over
Uh-huh.
what I was talking about. So it's pretty crappy
I
things.
mean,
Yeah, but my whole point was that I don't think those windows were from whenever the
Two
house.
of the windows downstairs in our middle room are the 4/4. Then we have that front window under the porch, probably was a 4/4, and it's a tall window, but of course, it's not gonna be changed.
the glass had been replaced
Yeah.
in that porch window down above, below the porch roof. But it will look good.
Are you planning to use, dual pane windows?
Yes,
So you really don't need storm windows if you have double pane windows.
right, that's what I'm saying, we wanna get rid of all these old windows, that's all we want is the double pane windows.
Okay.
Yeah, and plus
We have
for,
good windows
to-
installed, we won't need those.
no, and hopefully it'll do a lot for that base and those motorcycles and those cars.
Sure.
Mr. Henry, am I correct in that you probably are doing some other work to the house in addition to the windows?
Yeah, we're trying to work, we're gonna have to, the front porch, I don't believe was original to the house. I think it was late 1800s, early 1900s. It has a standing seam metal roof. Well, 20 years ago about, I came in front of the board and got a request to put the turn post up because it had that old crappy wrought iron. And, but the seam developed a crack and it leaked through and rotted the fascia under the porch. I'm gonna have to get that replaced. But the porch is, it's a wonderful porch, except when the base and the motorcycles go by. It's a great place to sit. But, I mean, it gives the house character,
Yeah.
and I like it, but the trim around the porch needs to be replaced too.
Yeah. Okay.
We've got an estimate on that, so, and
Is that
I
gonna
guess
be
I'd have.
a complete tear off and rebuild, or are they gonna?
No, they're gonna just redo the trim, the rotted part, and
Okay.
seal the roof, the standing seam metal roof, and keep the post, and maybe redo something with the spindles that aren't
Okay.
carried. But that's another project.
Sure.
I just have a procedural note. These lovely people are my neighbors, and I had a long conversation with them about their windows, so I'm recusing myself from this application.
Okay, thank you, Happy.
But we love the area. I mean, I was born in Madison, and I didn't move here for the aesthetics, but I'm a history nut, and I love the old houses.
It's wonderful. Well, we appreciate it.
What will be your glass pattern? Are you gonna go 404s, or are you gonna try to bring things together?
I think it'd be the 404, kind of keep things uniform.
Okay.
And in the bathroom, upstairs and downstairs, it'd be frosted glass. Again, that's because our neighbor is right across the fence from us.
Okay.
But no, we have no intentions of the 4 windows downstairs, replacing those.
Any other questions, comments from the board?
Well, even though it was brought to our attention that you can see all those windows from the street, and I agree you can, as I was standing there looking at his front porch, you can go down the east side of the house, and it's maybe 36, 42 inches wide, and then there's a fence, and then the grass and a magnolia tree and another big house over here. And I contend that because of the, him wanting to replace them all with, the 4/4s, that if he deemed that that was necessary due to their deterioration, I don't know that if he put 8/8s, that anybody in the world is gonna walk down that little alley and actually look at that and say, well, that's not natural to put that there, it wasn't ever there. Because they can't really see it in detail. And it's just, it's a kind of a private area. It goes right up next to their house, and then it goes to their little backyard. So I don't see a problem in replacing, particularly the front windows, nor the side ones. My opinion.
But Charles, I kinda have an issue with frosted glass. You know, I would guess prefer to just have it just look like all the others and use your magic in decorating. So,
Well, I mean, it's a bathroom window on the second story, and there's just the one.
Well, he's saying you curtain or
Oh,
something.
it
No, we can do that.
okay.
Wouldn't have to be frosted.
would rather have frosted.
Down in the first floor, yeah, kinda, but we could still do the shutters or something.
You have skills.
Not me. I fall off ladders, you see this shoulder here.
Charles, I wasn't talking to you.
She has skills.
I mean, the sidewalk that goes right under that bathroom window, that's our property. That's not something somebody would go up and down.
Sure.
They weren't supposed to be there.
Well, I can see, we frosted windows, we can get by without that, we have for almost 20 years, so.
Just stand in the way, just like.
Somebody's that desperate, they need to see me go to the bathroom, then there's something wrong somewhere, so.
That's why I carry my stick.
You are on TV, Charles.
I'm sorry.
You are being recorded.
Any other questions or comments from the board?
I run them out for me, and he's already had right here when we were.
I
Any,
have no questions.
any more questions or comments from the audience? Okay. Happy, would you take us through findings of fact? Oh, I'm sorry, you can't. You're recused, aren't you? Well, let's use,
Look at Sandy, won't look at you.
yeah, Sandy will do it. Sandy, will you take us
Alright.
through findings of fact?
All right, these are the guidelines that we use for windows, page 82 to 86 in the historic guidelines. 18.1, retain and preserve historic windows, including all significant related elements such as frames, sashes, shutters, hardware, old glass, sills, trim, and molding. So we're not in compliance there. Maintain existing historic windows where possible. Repair existing historic windows where possible rather than replacing. Replace in kind, using replacement windows that match the existing historic elements as closely as possible, and I think that's part of the issue with the frosted glass. 18.5, use storm windows to improve energy efficiency where needed. New windows must match the originals in overall size and opening area and should have three-dimensional buttons and either true divided lights or simulated divided lights, which have three-dimensional grills or on both the interior and the exterior sides of the shadow bar between the panes. I guess from looking at this from the street and the pictures, it definitely, that was the last of the guidelines, right?
Yes.
It definitely looks like the, storm windows need to be removed and replaced. They, obviously, they are more than 85% deteriorated. It was hard to see that the wooden windows were, significantly deteriorated. But again, was probably looking mostly at the ones that I could see, which would be in the front. And I'm not sure, some of the pictures you had looked like they were deteriorated, or at least the sills or the,
A lot of them, they're non-functional windows, they're sealed shut, and, even, you have to completely take them apart if they had weights in them and put the weights in, and I'm kinda looking at the expense of doing that, and then the expense of, if it was storm windows, finding somebody to put up storm windows, and then you have the cost
take
of
them
doing
down.
the original windows.
I do understand the cost of it, I do.
We just don't have many craftsmen around here anymore.
And the windows in our front, the ones above the porch, the ones that we're talking about replacing. I mean, those old windows, you could still see the ropes.
Sure.
I mean, so it's. I don't know when they were put in, but when did they have windows with ropes to get up?
Sandy, do they meet the guidelines or not?
I don't think that this application meets the guidelines. However, it's been modifying that it's not doing the two lower ones in the front, and only the ones on the side.
Four lower ones. There's four down front,
Four.
out, down the stairs that we're not gonna do.
The only windows upstairs are the two that are right above the porch,
That's facing the street.
facing the street. Otherwise, you'd have to be walking down the side.
So, no, I don't think the application meets the guidelines.
Ken?
I don't think the application meets the guidelines, however, at least three of the windows are not original. And I have no issue with using the clad windows as replacement windows, especially if they're 4/4s. That'd be more appropriate than what's the 101s that are in there now.
Carol Ann?
Well, it's just, I have no problem with the front, and actually I have no problem with the side, even though they do not meet the requirements or as they're laid out. Because I agree that if he repairs them, he still can't open those. And there's just something to be able to open a window in your house. And I think the repair goes beyond, the cost of having to have that, to repair them. I think it would be better for him to replace those, mainly because they're not particularly visible on the side, and those two on the front would go back to match the two on the other duplex. Exactly. They would be the 4/4s for sure. And that's what makes a difference to me, is what the guy who's driving down the street looking at our beautiful town, he looks at that duplex and he goes, look, they're exactly alike, and which they should be. So I disagree with the, well, how do I wanna say that?
Just kind of, doesn't meet the guidelines, but you agree with Ken.
Yeah,
Yes.
doesn't meet the guidelines, but I agree with
the
Ken.
change.
I think they should be replaced.
They will look better.
Jed?
There's no question.
I agree, it doesn't meet the, oops.
I'm so sorry.
I agree, it does not meet the guidelines, and I would like to know, have you done any research? What are the windows you have to replace? Have you checked into, wooden windows?
I've gone through several different, agents, one in Lexington and Louisville, and nobody does wood windows. It's vinyl or what glass aluminum on
Yeah.
It's wood with aluminum clad.
Yeah,
And you just, I don't know where you'd go to find anybody that specializes in wood windows, custom wood windows at that.
they're gonna be wood on the inside though, right?
Correct,
Okay.
yes. Yeah, everything inside will remain the same.
I don't know what else we can say.
So do you agree or disagree?
I agree that does not, follow the guidelines, but he's kind of in a bind. He's gonna have to do something or build his own windows.
Bill?
I think it's time that you have a chance to upgrade. And I think the aluminum clad windows are very appropriate. You see them around town a lot. They look quite good. They're not original. I don't know if we can make everything original, but I think it's a good idea.
Thank you, Bill. And I agree that, yes, our guidelines are pretty strict, and they're there for a reason. However, we gotta be reasonable too, reasonable. So bottom line is, you're saving the two windows where people walk up on your porch and see that, and they'll say, oh, what great old wood windows. And I'm glad you're doing that, and we appreciate that. And I think the other windows will make a big difference in your home. Not only that, might get rid of some drafts too.
I'm more concerned with the noise. The noise.
Big difference.
So, do we have a motion?
Will, I would like to make one, and I'm not sure how to word it. Make a motion that even though it does not agree with the guidelines, but that we allow him to replace the front windows to match the other side, and to replace all of those other damaged windows on the side with the wood-clad, aluminum-clad wood windows.
And maintain the windows on the front porch.
And what?
He's gonna keep the
And
windows on the
retain
front
the
porch.
windows on the front porch, the lower windows on the
We need
front
the
porch.
address and the owners.
Well, yeah, oh, I just, sure we do.
Here you go.
Yeah, thanks. Let's see, that would be, the address would be 419 East
Second,
Second, Charles Henry,
And Nanette.
and Nanette, Nanette,
Nanette, N-A-N-N-E-T-T-E.
got it, and Nanette. Is that the only thing you need there?
I second.
Ken seconds. Can we get a roll call vote, Nicole?
Carolyn Rogers,
Yes, I agree.
Ken McWilliams,
Approved.
Sandy Palmer,
approve.
Jed Skillman,
Approved.
Mike Pittman,
Approved.
Bill Jewell.
Approve.
You get your certificate of appropriateness in the mail. I assume they need a permit for this? They don't need a permit for windows, so you'll get your certificate of appropriate, get those windows ordered.
We will. And all kidding aside, you hear stories about historical board. So in my mind, I was expecting a wrestling match, you know, when I came in, we'd all have to wrestle, you know, and I appreciate what you do, and I understand the need for guidelines, I really do. But I think, like you said, reasonable and reasonable. so many things today. And I want to thank the board.
Thank you all.
Thank you all for taking on the project, saving that home. We
Thank you.
appreciate it.
Thank you all.
Thank you. New old business.
I had an MS walk one year. It's gonna happen again.
Hang in there.
Okay, the Lord keeps us going and keeps insane. Thank you.
Thank you. I have a request for a old business. I would like to request, I don't know if we need to make a motion for an executive session.
I can't hear you, Michael.
I'd like to make a request for an executive session.
Tonight.
No, not tonight.
It has to be advertised. I will reach out to legal again and request that.
And if legal says no, we'll go visit legal.
It's fine. I mean, we can have it without legal, but I won't have what you want.
No.
Is this, what's the topic for the executive section?
Oh,
Do
we
you think-
can't talk about that public meeting.
Oh, okay, because
would
I
like
was
to-
thinking of having a workshop meeting that would
can do
not
that too.
be related to any home, but so we can get on the page, same page on, what do we think about some of this? Because,
I think, Jed, and I'm a firm believer in diversity of opinion. We've got 7 people on the board, and I welcome the diversity. I think
Okay.
somebody may think this is okay, somebody may not think it's okay, and I think that's good, because that stimulates discussion.
I agree, but I would like to think that a little training is how I was kind of thinking of it. A training session
session,
would
I
be
agree.
very helpful, not to kind of arrive at
Group
a
thing.
group thing,
Groupthink.
but more of, we're getting a new person coming on board, and then we've got new members on the board. I'm pretty new, and I think a training would be very helpful. And I'd spoken to her about it just before the meeting, Jed, and we were talking about, it still has to be announced, and it has to be made public, have to be in a public place, but
please.
yeah,
Here.
have to be here. But I would like for us to schedule that if we could. I would, and if everybody doesn't have to participate, I just would find that helpful.
I'm with you.
Okay.
Good points. Okay.
Any other new or old business? No? Okay.
No.
Short month for staff, 3/4, cause I didn't include, Mary Jo's, cause, I haven't actually issued her C of A yet. I was waiting for the board decision tonight, so they could be combined, save some paper. But 2 signs and then a, project at Springdale is for the chapel. They are renovating that and, it's gonna look nice when they're done. 2023 review, almost all of them were completed according to their COA. One, Madison Ironworks, their roof, was not completed, or if it was, it's no longer there. And then the accessibility ramp at 411 East Street is in progress, but has not been completed. Yes.
Can I comment at this point?
Yeah.
Because it may not be the right place to comment, but the house with the door on, First Street, on West First Street near, the tack factory homes, just this side of that, it's about 1,000 in it. They moved the door to the side and they left the door, but there's no door, they've just closed it in. And they were gonna replace it with a door, right? I mean, I know you'd
Yes.
send a follow-up letter.
Yep, I reached out to their project manager, and that is, they're still gonna put a new door, they're waiting for PACE funding to put a door there. But, so the plywood is temporary.
Okay.
Also, since you brought that up, the house on, I think it's Second Street, straight across from the Lanier Mansion, they took the ornate doors out over a year ago, and they've been plywood since. Does anybody know what's going on there?
I haven't reached out to them. I believe that they're restoring those doors, but I can
That's
reach
what
out
I
to
would
them.
hope, because there's a rumor that they sold them.
I'll reach out to
They've
them.
been out for a
Okay.
couple years, I think.
Mike, you got anything you want to say?
Nicole? So I didn't see on the current projects HMI's work at Sullivan House. Are they exempt?
I'm not aware of what what work they're doing, but I would assume it's all replacement. If they're replacing, it's in kind or they're repairing.
Oh, you're right, it's counts as maintenance.
Yeah.
They're tuck pointing into something else.
Yeah, then they don't need to
That's
review
right.
New shutters.
Yeah, new shutters have to come.
unless they're the
Either
same
replace
material
it
and
or-
design, then they don't need.
Pardon?
If they're the same material and design, they don't need reviewed.
Okay. All right.
Good eagle eye though.
I'm gonna spy on my neighbors.
Anything else from the board?
I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
I'd
Do we
like
have
to
a s-
second.
Do we have a second? All in favor, say aye. Aye. We're out of here.
Can't wait to see your full-page report, Bob.